Okay, Alexander, it looks like the UK political class is turning on Joe Biden. This is incredible because this is the same political class that pretty much across the board, was fully in the tank for Biden during the elections in 2020. I'm hard pressed to find many politicians in the UK that were supporting Trump. Now they have completely turned on Joe Biden, on the U.S. president. What is going on here? This is also, from what I understand, this is not a conservative Labour thing either. This is not a Parliament thing. This is not a Boris Johnson government thing. This is not a media thing. Across the board, the establishment in the UK is turning on Biden. And once again, I'll say it again, this is the same establishment that was pushing so damn hard to get Biden into the White House. Something is up.
Absolutely.
What is up?
Can I just talk about that? Getting Biden into the White House. They absolutely were. Donald Trump did not have a single British politician who was prepared to come out and speak for him. Or Boris Johnson, in person, had a reasonably good relationship with him, but in general, virtually the entire British political class loathed Trump, made no secret of it. The media here were full of stories about Russiagate. As we know, all sorts of British people were involved in Russiagate. There was enormous, relentless criticism of Trump. And when Biden became president, not only was there a sense of huge relief and pleasure that Biden had won and that, Trump was no longer there, but you could also get a sense from some people in Britain, and I be very careful what I say now, some of them, there was an attitude of almost mission accomplished, getting Biden in, getting Trump out. And now the sense of anger is just off the scale. And it is at every level, as you absolutely said, the entire British establishment. So you have Tony Blair, remember him? He's now written a long piece for the Daily Mail in which he said that Biden's comment about ending the forever wars is imbecilic. And Tony Blair, whatever else he is, he knows about the media, and he knows perfectly well that saying that, using that word imbecilic in connection with something that Biden has said, is inevitably going to mean that the media are going to start saying that Tony Blair called Biden an imbecile. And they are already doing it. You already see that. There are reports that members of the British cabinet are starting to say that Biden is, gone doolally, which is to say that he's lost his mind, that he's vacant, that he's no longer there. We're starting to see increasing sections of the British media and the British political class starting to refer to Biden as Sleepy Joe. And that's starting to appear in parts, in British newspaper articles and things of that sort. The New Statesman, which is, the Blairite mouthpiece in the media, which is one of the big news magazines here, a little bit like the Atlantic in its policies, it's got a cover talking about the great betrayal. The British collectively, the British political class collectively has turned on Joe Biden, and they've turned on him with a vengeance. And there are various reasons for that. Firstly, it's become absolutely clear that these guys love war, and they're very, very angry that the war in Afghanistan ended. But I think even more important than that is the way they feel that Joe Biden and the White House have completely shown their contempt for Britain. They didn't keep the British informed of what they were doing in Afghanistan. They didn't return Boris Johnson's calls. Boris Johnson was trying to call Joe Biden, and it took Joe Biden 18 hours to respond. They sense that they've just completely been frozen out by an administration which clearly doesn't like them and isn't interested in them. So they went to all that trouble to bring down Trump and to badmouth and criticize Trump. And now they are absolutely shocked upset, angry, furious, feeling themselves betrayed, because it turns out that Biden is a far more difficult person to work with than Trump ever was.
I was watching Tucker Carlson about sometime last week, maybe Thursday of last week, and he had on his segments, one of his segments was titled "Knives Out for Biden," and he was talking about how people within the White House, or actually within his administration and DC, were now gunning to get rid of Biden. You know, maybe people in the Pentagon. He was highlighting people in the Pentagon and Austin, Kirby, the spokesperson. How there's a group of people in Washington that are definitely out to push Biden out of the Oval Office and usher in some sort of Kamala and the vice president of their choosing. Very, very soon. It's something that we may see very, very soon. Why I'm saying that is because I'm looking at the UK, and we documented how connected the UK deep state is to the US deep state during the whole Russiagate thing and the Ukraine-gate thing, and how they're pretty much one and the same. Many of the people involved in Russiagate were in Oxford and in Cambridge and roaming around London. And I mean, they were the people that were setting the whole foundation up for Russiagate and to get Trump out. They were the people that were setting everything up to get Trump out. So I'm looking at this situation in the UK, and I'm saying, Tony Blair actually publicly calling the President of the United States an imbecile. Tony Blair. Why would he do that? I'm looking at the UK political class, and I'm saying to myself, it's very odd, isn't it, that all of a sudden, and the media, they're all on the same page. They're all calling Biden whatever they're calling him, sleepy, imbecile, whatever, something they would never dare do just 3 months ago. And all signs point to knives out for Biden in the United Kingdom. Knives out for Biden in the United Kingdom. And I stress Russiagate and the importance the UK played in trying to take Trump out with regards to Russiagate. And I think, here we go again. The UK is looking to position itself in a prominent role to usher Biden out of the White House. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe I'm right. I don't know. But the coordination, being on the same page, Tony Blair calling a president of the United States an imbecile. This is incredible stuff.
I completely agree with you. I think that given how dependent Britain in reality is on the United States, it is all but inconceivable that all these comments and all this deluge of criticism would be appearing in the British media, in British comments, in informal statements from British cabinet ministers, which are being leaked and circulated in the media, criticising and saying things like that about the President of the United States, unless they were receiving a green light from Washington. I think it's inconceivable that this would happen. That is the reality. When you say that these two the British deep state and the American deep state are joined at the hip, they absolutely are joined up the hip. To all intents and purposes, they are the same thing. The difference is, because Britain is a foreign country, another country, they are more free to come out and speak out against the president than people in the deep state in the United States are. There they have to, do various subtle things. They have to do it through anonymous sources and that kind of thing. In Britain, they can come out much more openly and say it far more openly. But I have no doubt at all that you're absolutely right. And the criticisms that we are seeing in Britain are going to be reflected in the United States also. I don't know whether he realizes it. Probably he doesn't. But the things that Joe Biden did over the last few weeks, and most important of all, that speech he gave, that address he gave to the American people a week ago, in which he said that the United States isn't in the business of democracy promotion. That was utter heresy that has infuriated and utterly antagonized the deep state, both in Washington and in Britain. And that is a core part of his constituency. It was its support which largely explains why he became president. So when Tucker says that the knives are out for him, well, there's an article I read somewhere about the Ides of August. Remember the Ides of March? Beware the Ides of March. Well, I think Joe needs to look out for the knives which have been sharpened behind him, because I'm sure they're out there now.
Yeah, we don't do nation building. I mean, he blew up 20, 30, 40 years of neocon and neoliberal foreign regime change wars. I mean, their entire foreign policy, he just completely blew it up when he said, we don't do nation building. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent he really meant those words, but the effect of saying those words, as I said, it's like the Pope uttering heresy. I mean, it came as a shock, and it's turned his core constituency, the deep state in Britain and America, against him. Because for those guys, their entire business is democracy promotion. That's why they exist. Their whole purpose now is to export democracy around the world. So they're utterly horrified to hear the President of the United States come round and say that he doesn't do it. Now, they were angry when Donald Trump was saying it, but then Donald Trump was saying that through the election. They knew that that was what he meant. They took him seriously. When they engineer Joe Biden into the White House and expect him to change that, and then he comes out and talks in that way, well, that's something that, as I said, they can't get over. And no wonder these people are angry and feel betrayed. I mean, in a way, this has been a very interesting episode, because it shows, firstly, how dependent Britain has become on the US. I mean, it can't make any decisions by itself. This pretense that the British have that there's still a meaningful power around the world has been exposed as phony. And that's one reason why, by the way, why they're so angry. But it also, again, shows once more how interconnected they are with the US, and how war is a central integrating mechanism binding all the various parts of the deep state in Washington, in London, wherever, together. And when the president tells them they can't have that, they get furious, and of course they turn on him, and he's given them plenty of reasons to. And he's also given them plenty of excuses now to act against them because of the chaotic and bungled way that they've handled this.
Yeah, but Biden is a bungling person. He's a bungling person, and he was scripted to say what he did. I mean, he didn't come up with "we don't do nation building" on his own. That's for sure. I wonder if he even knows the significance of what he said. If he even realizes what he said.
He doesn't.
I mean, he was scripted, and he said it. So he was also goaded into saying that and scripted into saying that, and all of this is unfolding. And I go back to Russiagate, I go back to Steele and Halper and Mifsud and Alexander Downer and all these people who were in the UK, and they orchestrated the entire Russiagate lie. The entire Russiagate lie. And I think to myself, here we go again in the UK. Tony Blair and all the UK politicians and the Guardian and the BBC and the Daily Mail, which have huge reach all over the world, especially in the United States. So when the Daily Mail or the Guardian or the BBC puts out an article that criticizes Joe Biden, it's gonna make huge waves in the US.
Absolutely, and they have particular traction, of course, with the sort of liberals in the US, who are, of course, again, as I said, a core part of Joe Biden's constituency. Look, it's entirely I mean, he was scripted. I mean, that we discussed it when it came out. That speech was extremely carefully scripted that Biden gave. Now, whether the person who scripted it did it in a way that he or she knew would undermine Biden's position.
We don't know.
And we don't know. I mean, we simply don't know. But that is the effect. And I mean, to be very clear about it, he was always a placeholder president. I mean, they didn't have anybody, really. I mean, they just didn't have anybody they could set up against Trump in 2020 who could win. The only person they could think of who might have some kind of appeal was Joe Biden. The other person might have been Bernie Sanders, but they didn't want him either. So they put Joe Biden in to take on Donald Trump. They always intended, I think, to get rid of him and to put somebody else in charge. And now I think that's going to be accelerated because what Joe Biden said, I think, has shocked them and shocked them profoundly because it goes to their core purpose. It goes to what they are, what they see themselves as being all about. And I don't think he understands that. I don't think it the slightest glimmer of comprehension about what he's done. But then that's perhaps because he doesn't understand much of anything anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So let's end the video here, Alexander, with this thought. Blair is, I would say that Blair, even though he got along with Obama, it's hard to say if he liked Obama because many world leaders did not like Obama. But I think it's safe to say that Blair is a Clintonista. I mean, you know, he's firmly in the Clinton camp. Trudeau spoke with Hillary Clinton. We've discussed many times, and going back to that Tucker show, Tucker also mentioned it, that there is a lot of infighting in the Democrat Party and the DNC as to who is going to run the show with the Democrats. Is it going to be the Clinton camp? Is it going to be the Obama camp? Are the progressives and the communists, are they going to rise? You know, there is that infighting element. Definitely the two camps that are leading the way and have the most power, definitely the Obama camp and the Clinton camp. And you could say that Kamala Harris represents the Obama side of things. What does it tell you that Blair is now coming out so strong against Biden? Are we starting to see the Clinton camp assert its presence? How do you see this playing out now that Blair has surfaced with such a strong opinion on this matter?
Well, absolutely. Well, of course, Blair is connected with the Clintons. I mean, he rose in the shadow of the Clintons. And though he obviously worked with George Bush and got very close to George Bush in some ways, I mean, he never got on particularly well with Obama. Very few people in Europe did, by the way, but Tony Blair was certainly not one of those who did. So his connection is very, very much with the Clintons. And he is in contact with them. He is in regular touch with them. And frankly, we talked about the fact that Joe Biden has alienated a critical part of his constituency. Joe Biden became president because Barack Obama maneuvered the entire Democratic Party behind him. I mean, that's not even controversial. But Obama is in some ways, therefore, his political patron. Obama has a difficult relationship with the Clintons because he is the person who beat Hillary at in 2008, and there's never been a great deal of ease and affection between the two. So this could very well be the Blair coming out in the way that he has done could very well be the Clintonites' revenge and them repositioning themselves to strike, get Sleepy Joe out, bring one of their own people in. And given that Kamala also comes across to me very much as part of Obama's camp, that could very well be what we're going to see now. We're going to see more feuding and more civil war within the Democratic Party as the Clinton faction moves now to oust the Obama faction as it senses that the Obama faction has lost face and lost support and has antagonized the deep state in the way that it's just done.
Yeah, very interesting developments. All right, we'll leave it there, guys. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merchandise, a sweatshirt like Alexander has with Scotland. That is Scotland. Sweatshirt, I believe. Yeah. I've got a Russia and a USA magic mug, by the way.
I've got my own here.
And go to Locals, theduran.locals.com, and check us out on our alternative platforms as well. Super U, the great Super U, BitChute, Rumble is growing, ODYSEE is growing. All those alternative platforms are really great as well. So check us out there. You'll find all those links underneath this video. Take care.